When it comes to the cost of owning a home, Vancouver continues to be the least affordable city in Canada, with Toronto not far behind. And look at the number for Canada as a whole, 61%. Goodness. Toronto, almost 80% of a typical income would have to go on cost for owning a home. Let's get more from Robert Hogue. He's with RBC, Assistant Chief Economist at Royal Bank of Canada. Robert, thanks very much for coming on the show. It's really incredible. So your calculation says 100% of a typical household income would be needed to own a home in Vancouver. That blends in the cost of acquiring the home, I assume?
Well, this is the cost of carrying the home. So your mortgage payments plus your utilities plus the property taxes as the share of household, the median household income in Vancouver. So really, it's a gauge of those in the middle of the income distribution, whether they are financially able to buy an average home, which is an average of all housing types in Vancouver at a point in time, which is the first quarter of 2024. And needless to say, it is not affordable for them if they were to pay with a 20% down payment.
Unbelievable. And I can't believe the number for Canada as a whole, about 60%. So essentially, people in this country, millions of them, are just out of the home ownership game.
Well, again, under those assumptions, right? And because there's a whole spectrum of different homes. This is for an average of all housing types. However, if you do the same exercise for condo apartments, for example, then a much larger spectrum of Canadians can afford that. It's just that when you look at from a very aggregate perspective, home ownership affordability is extremely stretched in Canada, particularly in the more expensive markets like Vancouver, Toronto, and Victoria.
Regina is a pretty good place to buy a home. It's among big centres. The cost there below 30% of a typical income.
Right, and it goes towards the point of that it's a spectrum, right? And so they got very expensive markets in Canada, but that are largely unaffordable. Whereas some other markets like Regina and some parts of Atlantic Canada, for example, where it's much more realistic for an average or typical household to become a homeowner. So the situation, even though the affordability situation, has deteriorated tremendously during the pandemic, it varies by intensity across the country. Not every market is as unaffordable as Toronto or Vancouver, for example.
And Edmonton comes off looking pretty good, about 35%.
Right, and this is, and it's not necessarily that it's a very cheap market either. It's just, again, relative to the income that are earned in the area. The percentage of homeownership costs is not quite as extreme as it is in other parts of the country, and it also explains a good part of why we're seeing so much population inflows come from Ontario and BC, for example, into Alberta, where the housing affordability picture on a relative basis looks much better than Ontario and BC.
I mean, I'm thinking about a centre such as London or New York, which has for generations been unaffordable for nearly everybody to buy a home, or for the vast majority of people. So could these Canadian cities just stay like that indefinitely?
Well, hopefully not. I mean, not to the extreme levels that they are today. No, we do expect that there's going to be some improvement as interest rates come down. Over the next year and a half, we should see a little bit of an improvement in affordability. Now, if the question is there any hope that one day Toronto, Vancouver could become as affordable as St. John, New Brunswick, for example? It's probably not. And those are, as you kind of hint in your question there, global cities, and global cities tend to be very unaffordable, especially for like a single detached home, for example. I think we have to see this the affordability in both Toronto and Vancouver from that lens. And they are global cities. Global cities are expensive, especially if you want to live near the core. They're likely to remain unaffordable. Probably not to the same degree as today, but probably is still less affordable than St. John will be in 10 years, for example.
And you know that do we have a housing crisis in Canada? Is it fair to say that, or is it an exaggeration?
No, it is. I mean, again, what happened during through the pandemic has been experienced across Canada in the sense that housing affordability has deteriorated significantly. And here we're just talking about ownership affordability, but rental affordability is also a huge issue. And that goes across pretty much across the spectrum as well. You look at the vacancy rate, rental vacancy rates are extremely low from coast to coast. Rent has risen very rapidly. So it is really, when we talk about a housing crisis in Canada, it's not just home ownership, it's across all of this housing space that has become much more expensive and also much more difficult to find a place. Again, rental is short of supply across the majority of markets across Canada.
Because we know that, it's causing a lot of human suffering. People can't get anywhere to live. Should governments across Canada just get into building more social housing?
I think there will have to be a lot more social housing to be built over the next many years. Now, whether it would be entirely initiated by governments or they will find some formula to involve the private sector or the non-profit sector to a various extent, I think that will be, I'm sure, part of many discussions over the next little while. But the fact of the matter is, there's a huge shortage of social housing in Canada, especially in the large urban areas, and we'll need to build a lot more over the coming years.
It's interesting, yeah, governments just pulled back from that. Bureaucracy, in Britain, it's interesting, you may have seen that's been holding up their home building, regulations and objections from local people. Is there scope to roll back bureaucracy and development delays to really speed up the supply?
Well, I think we've seen over the last year, if not two, massive efforts across all levels of government to address that very specific problem. We need to speed up new home construction approvals. We need to lower the cost involved in the approval process, but also hopefully the cost of building as well. And governments, the federal government, just a few months ago announced unveiled its housing plan. And many provinces have very ambitious plans as well, municipalities as well. So a lot is being done, and I think and there is progress, but really going over the next year. And more, we'll need to see action. We need to see those measures put into making a difference in the community to see a lot more housing out there, especially at the lower end and the more affordable end of the scale.